All right.
We're live.
We're
ready
live.
to go. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 80 of our Black and White Theology podcast.
Wow.
Yeah.
80.
Number 80. Yeah. Unless I lost count along the way, but
I trust you, man.
Close enough.
I trust
you.
Enough. I'll check on it later, but I trust you.
So,
but I'll check on it later.
To all of our podcast listening audience, we have a brand new producer of our podcast.
Yes.
Mr. Daniel Gomez back there.
Yo, yo, yo.
All the way from San Angelo, Texas.
Yes.
And
No, I'm considered Pennsylvania now.
now he's Pennsylvanian. Now he's from Pennsylvania.
Have you had any Pennsylvania Dutch food yet?
Don't plan on it.
Okay, all right.
Pennsylvania Dutch food is kind of boring and bland.
Come on. Whoa. You're talking about my mom's cooking.
I'm sorry.
Hold on a minute. Now it ain't boring. Come on, man. Chow chow and green fried tomatoes and shoe fly pie. That's some good eating.
I'm good. I'm
hook Daniel up. I'm hook him up. Yeah.
Well, today is it was kind of a last minute podcast scheduling that we decided we wanted to jump into this topic that hopefully you saw on the title. So this is just some thoughts, some feelings that we have with regards to some of the events of what took place yesterday with regards to Charlie Kirk and his assassination, and just, the jarring kind of effect that something like that has on a culture and upon people who were impacted by him, by his work, his organization, but also people that were just impacted by him as a person. And so as I talk with different individuals, everyone kind of has a little bit of a different story or a different way that someone like Charlie Kirk has impacted them. Mm-hmm. And so I, been getting a couple messages from people, just some conversations, and I think some people, particularly within the church here, and again, just as a way of reminder, we do this podcast primarily as a ministry to the people of Faith Church Sellersville and Hope Community Church in Allentown. Now, anyone else that benefits and is blessed by it, that's great, that's awesome. But we really opened up this format as an opportunity to talk about cultural issues as they intersect our spiritual lives. Yep. And this feels like one of those tipping point moments, like in American history anyway. Because not just because he was a political voice on the more conservative side, but because of, I honestly think because of who he was as a person. So I'll just share a couple of my thoughts, Ron. I'll let you share some of your thoughts. And then we want to just give some guidance and some hope as people process what's going on and have questions about how they should approach this type of situation, whether it's in conversation or just within their own personal lives. And so we just want to kind of have an open, kind of honest, raw conversation about this issue. I know a lot of people have posted a lot of things on Facebook, and one of the things we want to do is we just want to make sure that we're speaking through the Spirit, that we're praying through what we're saying with regards to these things. I know you and I aren't like super active on social media. In fact, I don't think you're active at all. This might be the most active you get when you come on the Black and White.
Probably so. You're probably right.
You do have a Facebook page.
I do. I just never use it.
So everyone has different ways of processing and going through, whether it's grief or going through processing situations like this. So let me just speak a little bit from my heart with regards to how this has affected really the people that are close to me and my life personally, and because an event like this does impact you. I don't know how it doesn't, whether you agreed with him politically or not, and I know he had a lot of people that didn't. In fact, there's a lot of wicked, evil people that are celebrating his death today. Yeah. And I'm not even going to get into that part of it. I'm not going to get into the people that want to argue politics. That's not what this is about.
Nope.
This is a major cultural event. 31-year-old father of two, husband, was murdered in front of a group of over 2,000 people, of which there's videos by the dozens that you can see and witness. It was brutal, hard to watch. I don't even suggest that you do watch it. I mean, you're perfectly welcome to find those videos if you haven't watched them. But I did, and the reason I did is I just wanted to begin to wrestle with the fact that we do have evil around us.
Yep.
And that's always been the case. It's not anything new, but sometimes it feels like it hits closer to home. And so I teach a high school Bible class at Faith Christian Academy and talked with the students about it today. And I said, one of the things that your generation, this generation that's growing up now, has to wrestle with and interact with is the fact that everything that happens is on video.
Yep.
There's not an event that takes place that the news reports that isn't on video. We all had to, right before the Charlie Kirk video, there was another video of a Ukrainian woman getting stabbed on a freight train in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the reason that wasn't a story early on when it first happened was because the video wasn't released. As soon as the video is released, then all of a sudden it's a major, why? Because what was a distant, a random person got stabbed on a train in Charlotte, all of a sudden there's a face.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you see the look on her face when she realizes what has happened. You see her slump over, and in the one of the most saddening scenes you'll see, die alone on a freight car or a freight train or whatever it was, while people walked in and out. And so we have to wrestle with those images of Charlie Kirk getting shot in broad daylight. And we have to wrestle with the fact that there's evil around us. And this generation is growing up seeing it. So there's separation when there's no video. As soon as there's a video, it hits a lot closer to home.
Right.
And with podcasting and things like this, you feel like you know people that you wouldn't normally know. So a guy like Charlie Kirk had a podcast, had a public platform. You could listen to him every day on his podcast, which my wife would do. And she just says, you feel like you got to know him almost like he was, his personality. And he talks about his family, and he talks about his faith, and he talks about obviously his political opinions and shares those. And so whether you agree or disagree, you feel like you kind of have a closer connection with this person because of media and social media and podcasting and things like that. And so events like this do hit close to home when we can witness them and watch what happened. And so that, I think that has a little bit more of an effect on people when they see it, rather than just, oh, I heard he was shot. When you actually see it and watch the video, it hits different. And so I was out on the soccer field at the school yesterday, getting ready to coach the middle school girls to a 5-1 loss. And before that, my oldest son, Titus, he texted me and my wife, and I think my other son, Drew. So my 2 oldest boys are at Liberty University right now. And he texts me and he just says, "Hey, Charlie Kirk got shot." And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, well, hopefully it's not bad. Hopefully he survives. Hopefully, it's not a wound that'll kill him, right? I hadn't seen any. That's the first I had heard of it.
Yeah.
Then my son calls me. And if you know anything about Titus, Titus loves to engage in debate. He loves to engage in theological and political debate. He's got some desires and aspirations to either be involved in the political or the legal arena and use his life in those areas to make a difference. Kind of in the same way that a guy like Charlie Kirk has, even though he's not a politician, his world was that political world. And so a guy like Charlie Kirk has been a voice for my kids' generation. Those that are Christian, those that are theologically and politically conservative. He's been a big voice for their generation, and he's had a huge impact. In fact, Charlie Kirk was scheduled to be a speaker at Liberty University here in a few weeks. And when they first announced that at the beginning of the school year at Liberty University, you should have heard the applause and the cheering. These students, 16,000 of them, for the most part, he was the one that they were looking the most forward to hearing from, of all the speakers that were coming to the Liberty Convocation. And so you can't underestimate just the impact that he's had on those that are, I would say, 25 and younger. And that's why he's spent time on college campuses, engaging in conversations with people that agree with him and people that disagree with him. And one of the things I've appreciated, and I want to honor and give honor to where honor's due for someone who's had such an impact on so many lives, is that he was unashamed of proclaiming Christ, right? And so Jesus says, if you deny me before men, I'll deny you before my Father in heaven. That was not a guy like Charlie Kirk. Even at the event yesterday before he got shot, there's video of him sharing the gospel, like clear death, burial, resurrection of Jesus, forgiveness of sins. He didn't dance around it. He didn't apologize for it. Every chance he got, and which was a lot of opportunities with the platform that God had given him. Yes, it was primarily a political platform, without question. And that's why some of this gets frustrating, because people want to make it about politics. Regardless of that, he was a Christian brother. And I believe that because of his clear and unapologetic proclamation of faith in Christ. That impact is felt within, I think, a lot of young men, my boys' age, and younger, that generation, who see a man who is challenging other young men to follow Christ, be involved in your church, live out your faith, and impact the world around you. And that was so. A guy like Charlie Kirk, for me, had a valuable impact on my kids' lives. Honestly, even on my wife's life. My wife's struggling emotionally because she started listening to his podcast this past year, and she became, quite a fan of his podcast. And so she'd come home and be like, I'd catch her. She'd be home and Kirk would be on, right? And I'd be like, pretty soon you're going to be, like the red hat, and she's like, no, but she's like, he has helped me think through some issues in a way that has been very, very, very helpful. And so he always said that his faith informed his politics, and so opportunity after opportunity, you can see videos of him sharing the clear gospel. And so we are saddened And so when I first heard it, and my son called me and he said, "Dad, I watched the video." I said, and my son said, "Dad, he's dead. There's no way he survived that," which obviously was the case before they had officially put out word that he had died. And so the word that comes to my mind is just jarring. There was just a jarring, and I heard it in my son's voice, and I heard it in other people's voices, that an event like this just jars you and causes you to ask a lot of questions, and it causes you to look at yourself, right? And look at a guy like Charlie, because we can get so sucked into the divisiveness of politics, and taking sides, and it gets so ugly. It gets so ugly. And I think Charlie Kirk was a good example of someone who tried to engage people who disagreed with him in a healthy, Christ-centered, a loving way. And that's becoming more and more rare.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I remember. So those are the things that I appreciated about him. He was a voice for this next generation of people who are concerned about the direction of the country. Again, whether you agree or disagree, he was an impact for that generation without question at a deep level. And so we just want to acknowledge that. The other thing, because you go through a lot of emotions when something like this happens. I told my son, I said, when we remove God from the equation, and all we're left is the hope for humanity is my political position. The end of that is violence.
Yeah.
Right? If my only hope is you're not the answer, you're the problem, therefore I've got to get the problem out of the way. We only have thousands of years of human history to say that the end goal, when you remove God and say politics or this leader or this king is the answer, then I have to get those people that are in the way out of the way to preserve what I believe is right and good. And so when we see, and I said this to my class of students this morning, regardless of where you are politically, you cannot look at the world and say, hey, we're getting better, right? Now, we can have a eschatological conversation of whether, the gospel will, in a post-millennial way, invade the earth or not.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I don't believe we're witnessing the world getting better.
Right. All
right. And yeah, there may be victories for the church in certain seasons at certain times, but overall, the nations do seem like they're becoming more and more deceived. And I think Scripture warns us to expect that. So we have to deal with the fact that there's evil in the world.
Yeah.
And I'll end with this and then let you speak. I feel like the evil has kind of been in other parts of the world or not very close to us. And I feel like this generation growing up is witnessing the evil come to their back door. And that's something that we're going to have to wrestle with as we shepherd people into the future.
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah. First I heard the report that he was shot. And again, I've watched some of his videos. Again, I'm not on social media a lot, but I've seen enough of them to kind of see what he stands for and things of that nature. But so again, kind of like you, the first when you hear it, because he was a public figure, it's like, oh wait, I know who that guy is. Wait, somebody shot him? What? And then you just you go on with the day and you pray and, oh man, I hope everything. And then, but by the time I got home, found out that he in fact had passed away. And as you were saying, because of social media, you see these figures, and even though you don't know them, you know them. Lord knows, probably a lot of fathers and husbands lost their life yesterday in some way, but we don't know them. So there's no impact. But because, again, the platform that he had, and then knowing how it happened, the pure evil of it, right? The way he was assassinated. He was murdered. All of that, just like you think, what in the world? And so then, so after the emotions, and you're kind of like you said, and you just stop and you're like, wow, did this really happen? Your mind kind of goes, aren't we in America?
Yep.
Aren't we?
Yeah, it's supposed to happen in other countries, yeah.
Right, exactly. You hear about this far, far away, and here it is hitting home. And so I had a couple of thoughts. Just again, I try to process things through a theological lens. Yep. And you hit on a lot of it. One, the pure evil that is in our world. It was brought to our living rooms via social media, but it's been in existence and still is going on. Even as you and I talk, there are probably egregious crimes happening. Mm-hmm. And ultimately what speaks to that is the gospel.
Yep. Amen.
What I would hope and pray is that for the believers, that they don't look at what happened and purely look at this through a political lens. And you kind of alluded to this. Number one, a husband, a father, a Christian was murdered. That ought to cause pause, and it ought to invoke in us a somberness, the reality of life is a vapor, yeah. The reality of tomorrow is not promised to us, right? Like all of those, I hope and pray for the believer that those things, like we're saying, social media has brought this to the forefront, that these theological truths come to the forefront of our thinking. Mm-hmm. I mean, Charlie left the house, did what he normally does, and expected to come home. Mm. You and I all left the houses this morning, and we expect to arrive at our houses. But you don't know. And I don't even want to get into the why would that person even do that. It's evil. Sin abounds, and we're seeing one example of that sin that's abounding in our world. So I hope that those who are true believers will really, really reflect on the hope of the gospel that we have, the brevity of life, the sanctity of life, and ultimately what Jesus Christ did to deal with this type of effects of sin. He came to give us that we might have life, right? And deal with our sin problems.
That's right.
What saddens me is, and it's only been one day, hearing from other believers about what other believers are saying. And I'm not even going to entertain what they're saying because I don't want to give them any airtime. But just totally almost not having any type of pause or remorse for the fact that a man's life was taken and jumping right to all the political stuff. And I'm thinking, wow, that grieves me. If God's people cannot respond to a tragedy like this through a theological lens, where we really bring to the surface the reality of sin, the reality of redemption, the reality of man's greatest need as a redeemer. If we can't look at this situation and say let's accentuate those things, but then just make it all political, shame on you, shame on you. And unfortunately, there are some believers that are just running politically with it, and this is why. Fill in the blank. This is politically. This is where our country is going. And it's like, okay, wait. We have a father and a husband that was taken brutally. Can you bring the conversation back to that? Right? But that's something that hit me. So I kind of went, from like shock to like disappointment when other believers start sharing posts and showing me what other believers were posting. And I'm like, wow, Lord help us. Yeah. Lord help us. So yeah, the reality of sin has hit us right in the face. Which again, and you said this is nothing new. This sin has been destroying lives ever since Adam and Eve left the garden, right? Mm-hmm. But it's in our face now, and it's with someone that had a platform. And so it hits hard. It's almost like, this is what's really out there, guys. Okay? The other thing that the thought that I had was, what, and you alluded to this, so we're kind of on the same page. The boldness that he had to unashamedly say, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, this is what I believe, right? Praise God for that. Mm-hmm. Because I have no idea how many people he has spoken in front of. At this point, probably tens and thousands of all the college campuses and things that he's done. But, and I haven't watched a lot of them, but the ones that I've watched, to your point, there seems to always be somewhere in that presentation his faith, what drives him, right? And I praise God for that, because that was a lot of seed that was thrown out there. Now, people could have blown it away and said, whatever, I'm just interested in going after what you believe politically. Okay, well, and again, like you said, he was doing and talks politics, yes, but let's not make light of the fact that God used him for this time to proclaim the gospel.
Yeah, for sure.
And tens of thousands of people heard it. Yeah. And what fruit might that produce? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep. So yeah, some people say, well, how could God let this happen? I mean, he was such an impact, but we do not know the mind of God, and we do not see what God sees. How the death of someone like Charlie serves his sovereign purposes. And this is what I would tell people who are wrestling with and questioning this, how it seems like evil won yesterday. But that is not the case. Mm-hmm. Not with a sovereign God who is in control of all things and knows the beginning of our days and knows when we'll take our last breath.
Right.
And they all are to his glory, to serve his sovereign purposes. And so he was done with Charlie, and Charlie had run his race, and there was faithfulness that you saw, and now God is going to use his death for his purposes, even though we may not know what those are right now. Mm-hmm. But to your point, will people come to Christ through this? I have every reason to believe and pray to that end. The thing that is so hard about it is there's going to be a young wife and 2 children who will have to try to move forward and put their lives back together. Right. And every time we witness that kind of grief and that kind of loss and suffering, it should be a reminder to us. And this is what I told my Bible class. I teach them eschatology, end times, mm-hmm. that the study of end times points us to a day when Jesus will wipe every tear from our eyes. Right. So that is our hope, right? Yeah, our hope isn't even that... because we all want to find answers and prevent these things from happening. Like, I want to prevent young girls from being stabbed on trains, right? I want to prevent political activists from being shot, whether you're Democrat or Republican, conservative or liberal. I want to prevent that, right? Like, I want to be someone who helps to prevent that and creates an environment that's safe for people. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, this world is cursed by sin. And our hope is not that even in this age, this is my belief, that the Bible teaches that in this age we will expect evil to advance and the nations to rage. Yeah. But that there's a coming day in which our King will come and he will return and we will see him as he is. Yeah. And he will raise the dead. That's what's glorious about this. I always say this at funerals. If I was preaching Charlie's funeral, I'd say, this is not the end of his story. Right. He will rise again on the last day in the resurrection. On that day in which Jesus comes, he raises the dead, and he will judge the world. Right. He will judge the evil and the wickedness and the rebellion and the blasphemous acts that man is doing and has done. He will raise the dead. He will judge the world. And here's the glorious truth. then he'll make all things new.
Yeah.
And he will restore all things as they once were when he created the world and said, it is good.
That's right. Yeah.
And so this is what the Bible calls the blessed hope, right? And so we have to, at some level, understand that we live in a world where people will be murdered. There will be loss and there will be suffering. And we want to try to engage our culture in a way that helps to prevent that. So I tell my son who wants to go into law and politics, do that with boldness as a Christian, like Charlie Kirk did, but understand it may cost you.
Right.
As I stand before God's people, as you stand before God's people and openly and publicly proclaim the gospel and proclaim righteousness, it may cost us, right?
Like it is pastors in other countries.
Yeah, and it may happen in this country. I mean, those that seem to have a hatred for what is right or what is righteousness according to the scriptures, it seems like there's a growing hatred toward that, right?
Yeah.
And so why are Christian schools and Christian churches, you're seeing what seems to be, and again, I don't have numbers, I don't have statistics. I'm just speaking from what people are feeling right now. It feels like there's an increased aggression, an increased violent attacks against the people of God.
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not, I'm not going to sit here and give you statistics, but that's what people are feeling.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
And that's what people are concerned about. And so there's a little more concern about, when you gather for worship now in this country, right? And heightened security. We talk to our security team here about, hey, be aware, be careful, be on the lookout, right? Because someone who believes that we're the enemy will feel very justified in coming and harming and trying to put an end to our message here.
Yeah.
Or your message where you preach.
Yeah.
And I know Faith Christian Academy raising up a next generation of young people with a biblical worldview. We want to protect them because it seems like the enemy is attacking that in a more violent way in our country. Now it's been happening, to your point, in other countries. And it just feels like it's starting to come closer to home. And I think that's where some of the fear and anxiety and concerns that people have as they saw Charlie say, wow, this is starting to come really close to home.
Right.
And so, yes, I would agree that it is, but here's my challenge. I said this to my wife. We do not back down in the face of adversity, in the face of threats. We persevere. This is how the Church of God for the past 2,000 years has impacted the world. And God and the gospel, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church, right?
Hebrews 11, right?
Yeah. And so, and some people want to have the argument whether Charlie Kirk was a martyr for being a Christian martyr. Certainly, he seems to be a political martyr, but he was a Christian. He was and open about that. So, he most likely we don't know, but most likely was killed because of his political views, his support of Donald Trump, his support of the MAGA movement, and yet he was an ardent, follower of Christ at the same time. And so, the more we become bold in proclaiming truth to a lost generation, guess what? The more risk we're going to assume.
Yeah.
And that has been the history of the church.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we don't back down.
Yeah.
We don't recoil. We advance. We move forward.
Yeah.
We preach and proclaim with love, but with boldness, the glorious message of Christ. But we also proclaim truth in a world that may not want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead.
And we'll wrap it up. But I often have this picture, and again, we've done so many funerals over the last 20 years. But I always have this picture and trying to make sense of it. And there's, so there's this vineyard, right? Or this garden, right? And you picture this garden has all of this trash and tires and old televisions in it. And there you are working to get this stuff out. And finally you get it all. This one section of it is like, wow, okay, I can finally see the dirt. And now you start to put the rolls in because you're going to put seeds in. And then God taps you on the shoulder and say, your work's done.
Yeah.
from a human perspective.
You're like, oh, I'm not done.
Lord, I just got rid of the last refrigerator. I just got rid of the last tire. I'm about to put the rolls in and put the seed in. And the Lord's like, you're done. And he takes the hoe and he hands it to the next guy. And he continues with making the rolls.
Yeah, and you had to wrestle with that this past year with your own health issues, right?
Absolutely.
Whether or not God was giving
tapping me.
tap.
No, trust me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's when we see the death of a believer, and when we see someone who is young, that's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
Young family, like, Lord, you want him, right? That be in the life of his kids, right? Like, I mean, we wrestle with all of that, right? And like you said, in God's sovereignty. But that picture helps me, because I realize, as Ecclesiastes says, life under the sun, it is vanity at the end of the day. But fearing God and keeping his commandments, because there is a life coming beyond this. So we work hard, we clean out the yard, until God says, okay, you're done. And the next person comes and gets to put the seed. And then there's going to be a guy who gets to pick the tomatoes, and he didn't even throw one tire out. But God gets all the glory.
Yeah, that's right.
And
some plant, some water, God gives the increase.
Go, man.
And I've learned this, and I've learned to accept this, that God puts us here for a particular time, for a particular purpose. Be faithful to what God has called you to.
Yep. And do it with passion, like you said, boldness.
Boldness and passion, whatever that is. If that's just planting seeds, if that's just laying a foundation, if that's seeing the increase, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's not about you. But do what God has called you to faithfully.
Yeah.
Through the struggles, through the tears, through the toil. And one day you'll hear those words, well done.
That's it. And I want to just end with this. And again, I'm not on Facebook going back and forth, Twitter or whatever, but if you're that person and you do that, okay, that's fine. But please represent Christ well. Yeah. And I would say this, before you post anything, say a prayer for his wife and those two little kids. Before you give any opinion about whatever you want to say about what happened, every time before you do a post, just pause and say a prayer for his wife and for those two kids.
That's a good word. Well, I'll end with this. Conversation Jesus had with his disciples in John 16. He says to them, I have verse 25. You can bring this up, Daniel. I have it on the computer here. I have said these things to you in figures of speech. The hour is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figures of speech, but will tell you plainly about the Father. Jesus is getting ready to leave him. Mm-hmm. He knows what's coming.
Yep.
In that day you will ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I will ask the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself loves you, because you have loved me, and have believed that I came from God. So this is kind of an emotional conversation Jesus is having. I came from the Father and have now come into the world, and now I am leaving the world, going to the Father.
Yep, there it is.
There must have been deep emotion in Jesus, right? Even reading it now. You can kind of feel that emotion. And so his disciples said, now are you speaking plainly and not using figurative speech? Like, no, Jesus, certainly you're using figurative speech right now, right? Like, certainly you're not going to leave, right? Certainly you're not going to die.
Yeah.
This has got to be like symbolic speech, right, Jesus?
Yep.
It was hard to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know that you know all things and do not need anyone to question you. This is why we believe that you came from God. Jesus answered them, do you now believe? Behold, the hour is coming. Indeed, it has come when you will be scattered, each to his own home, and will leave me alone. Yet I'm not alone, for the Father is with me. I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. And here's the promise. In the world, you will have tribulation. Mm-hmm. But take heart. I have overcome the world.
There it is. That's our hope right there. That's our
on
hope
that note,
right there. Yeah.
we will have a good night.
Yep.
Be praying.
Until next time.
Look to Jesus.
Amen.
Thank you.